All right. So in this case, I want us to consider our typical questions that we might be given as we are to consider the simple interest in our finance and growth. So this is our grade 10 mathematics as we had these formulas before in our grade 9. Remember, you had your simple interest formula, which is not going to change. This one is not going to change. So remember, that the simple interest can be given from the formula that the amount can accumulate. Remember the simple interest, this is where we are using for short-term loans. Maybe we are working with a hire purchase agreement, even investments. You are investing money into a bank account. So we can actually apply the simple interest in those terms, like just considering the loans, but it must be a short term. It must be a short term one. Remember, loans can be different. It can be a long term. Okay, so we can just talk of 5 years and below. These can be considered depending. I'm not saying if you are given 7 years and they are saying it's simple interest, you don't use simple interest. No, you can use simple interest. They can even give you for 10 years. It's a question, guys. They want you to just have practice. Also, the part of the hire purchase, we're going to talk about that in our revisions. And any investment that can actually happen, it can be under a simple interest that you will be given. So it states that the amount accumulated over a certain period of time is equal to the principal into 1 plus IN. So this is what I'm going to explain. This formula can be written in many ways. A is equal to P into 1 plus R over 100 like this. And then you'll be given N like that. So it depends with how you are given your formula to present. So where this A is simply representing the accumulated amount. Remember, you invested into a bank or it's a loan that you have taken, then they are going to use an interest. So the amount that we have later on is going to be more than the amount, this one, that was being invested. So this is the principal. That is the principal in this case, which is the initial amount that you are starting with. That is your starting amount. In that case, it can be a business, it can be a loan. Let's just say our starting amount, which is the part of the investment, the money that you are investing, the loan that you have taken. And A will be the accumulated now, that is the accumulated amount. So this one will be the accumulated amount, meaning to say it has increased. And we talk of the interest rate. The interest rate. So this part, if you use it here, it must be a decimal. So how is it going to be a decimal? From the percentage that you are given, you must divide by 100. So it's simply the percentage given divided by 100. So this is percentage given. You divide that by 100 and N will be the number of years. The number of years for that investment to take place, the completed number of years that you're going to take to pay the loan that you have taken. So that is the N representing the number of years. So like I said, I is supposed to be the interest rate and is supposed to be given as a decimal. That is what you're going to be having. Also, considering this amount that he has accumulated, it also states that, so I'm just going to have this as our first formula. Number two, the amount that is accumulated, this one, it is simply equal to the principal plus the interest, not the interest rate, but the interest, like the money gained. This is the interest, not the interest rate. There is interest rate as the percentage, but this one is the interest, like what you have gained. your gain. That is the gain in that case. So after maybe you invested 6,000, then after that, there is a gain of 500. You add to that. That is the amount accumulated. You don't need any interest rate because already you are given that amount. So with this, we can be able to answer typical questions using our formula for the simple interest. Let's consider the first question that I'm having here. Calculating the value of A. We are given, number one, 5,000 is invested. 5,000 Rand is invested in a bank. Calculate using appropriate formula. So this is the principal amount invested. Using appropriate formula, the accumulated amount, meaning to say we're talking of A, the accumulated amount. After 3 years, the number of years we are given N, and the total interest received. And the total interest received. Take note, and the total interest received. If the interest rate is per annum, so you're given either per annum, that is per year, given per annum, simple interest. So you must consider this is simple interest. All right, let's start with the first one. To calculate the amount, we are going to use the formula straightforward P into 1 plus IN. So the principal we are already having, this is 5,000. Okay. Then we also have the number of years, N, which is 3 years. Then we are given the interest rate. So like I said, as a decimal, so it's percentage given, you divide by 100. So this percentage of 3,75, you divide it by 100 to remove the percentage. So it will be 0,0375. So this is what you're going to have. So the question is simply to calculate the amount. You can simply substitute into the formula. So A is equal to P, the principal amount, which is 5,000, into 1 plus the interest rate. That is, in that case, you're going to use 0,0375. Okay, that is 0,0375 times the number of years, which is 3. So in that case, you close this bracket. This is just a multiplication. You can even just use a times like this. You can just times like that. Okay. 3 is simply a product of these two. So meaning to say, we can use our calculator in that case. This is enough for us to have our simplification. And in this case, we are dealing or we are working with money. So we are going to use 2 decimal places in our simplification. All right, you use 2 decimal places on your final answers. So meaning to say, you can actually fix your calculator to 2 decimal places. So shift, go to the setup, then number 6 there, you fix it to 2 decimal places. Okay, or you can just work it with the normal mode, go back to that setup, number 8, then you just work out, then you fix your answers. It's up to you. So this is 5,000 into, open a bracket, that's 1 plus, as it is 0,0375. You multiply this by 3, then close the bracket. So this was going to give us this, then you change it to a decimal. That is what you're going to have, which is 0.5. But like I said, to 2 decimal places, meaning you're going to put a 0 there. But if you do this on your calculator, it can actually fix this to 2 decimal places. Press 2. So if you check, it will give you 2 decimal places. You can actually have your answer rounded off by the calculator. So that was going to be 5,562,50 to 2 decimal places. That is what we have. And the total interest received. So remember what I said about these two. The relationship that we have is that this accumulated amount is equal to the principal plus the interest, which is the gain. That is the one they're asking you here. So using this formula, we can simply state that if the amount is equal to the principal plus the interest, We can find the interest. Simply, it's going to be amount minus principal is equal to the interest. So that interest is simply this expression of amount minus principal, which is the accumulated amount of 5,562.50 minus the principal, the amount that we started with, which is the 5,000. That is going to give us the difference of the interest, which is the gain that we have. So simply going to subtract 5,000. That was going to be 562.50. So we are going to have 562.50. This is the interest, not like the interest rate, like a percentage. No, this is the money gained in this investment. This is the interest that was gained in the investment. That is what they are asking you there. So there are two questions there. Okay, let's consider another part. We are given calculating the value of P. From this, we are given 5 years ago. That is this question. 5 years ago, a certain amount of money was invested. So we are already given the number of years there. 5 years ago. So we're given 5 years. The value was invested. In this case, the value of investment current is 200,000. This is the accumulated amount after these 5 years. The value of the investment currently, everything in the bank, if you check it, it is 200,000. That is what you're given there. Calculate the original amount invested, which is our principal. We do not know this. If interest rate was 5% per annum, simple interest. So we are given either, like I said, divide this by 100. That was going to be 0.05. You have the interest rate. So the formula was supposed to be the amount is equal to the principal into 1 plus IN, which is true, but we need the principal. So we can even make the principal the subject of the formula. We do not want this. We want this P. So how can we remove this a product? So we can simply divide by this bracket of 1 plus IN, both sides. By dividing by this bracket, it means we are going to remain with P. That's our principal, the amount invested. So amount, accumulated amount is there, 200,000. So that's 200,000 divided by what? 1 plus IN, which is 1 plus the interest rate, which is 0.05 times N, the number of years, which is the total that you're given there, which is what? 5 years. So you can even ignore the bracket that you're given, or you can just use the bracket. It's fine. So with our calculators fixed to 2 decimal places, we are going to obtain our answer to 2 decimal places. So that is 200,000 divided by, just going to open a bracket. That's 1 plus. This is going to be 0.05. All right. So let me check again. Okay, that's 0.05 there. Times how many years? That's 5 years. All right. So this was going to give us 160,000,000, which meaning to say it was just an exact value that you are obtaining in that case, which is just 160,000. So in this case, you are going to obtain 160,000,000. That 0.00 does not even affect anything, guys. So that is what you're going to have. This is the amount that was invested 5 years ago. This was the amount to obtain 200,000 currently. Checking on number part of question on another section, which is this calculating the value of N. How long will it take for an investment of 40,000 Rand to increase by, take note, to increase by? There are two things that we have. The amount that was invested, which is the principal. We have got 40,000. We've got 40,000 Rand. But let's take a consideration here. How long would it take for an investment, this one, to increase by, not to increase to, if they say to increase to, they will give you a certain bigger amount, maybe it's 50,000 rand, like that. They are giving you the accumulated amount. It is accumulated to this, to that value. That is where it is now. But here they are saying it is increased by. That's our interest here, our gain. So remember what I said about these two, that the amount can be related from this gain or the interest as the principal plus the interest. Not the interest rate, but the interest, which is the one that you have gained. So we could have calculated the amount from these two, the principal amount which was invested and the gain, the increase in this amount that was invested. It was increased by 5,000. So now it is at 45,000. So we have the accumulated amount in that case, which is 45,000 from this. Remember your formula 2, your second formula. Then they are giving you now, if the interest rate is there, that one is the rate, the one that you divide by 100, the one for the interest rate, this one, not this one. This one is the interest, the gain, but this one is the rate at which the amount was increasing. It was increasing at what? 4.5%, which is 0.045 as a decimal. So the question is, how long? How long? The number of years. Time then. How long? It's a simple interest. So amount is equal to what under simple interest? P plus 1, P into 1 plus IN. That is what we know. So we can make I the subject, N the subject, it's up to you, or you can substitute your values. We have got everything. The amount accumulated, 45,000, is equal to the principal, which is 40,000. So that's 40,000 into 1 plus the interest rate, which is 0.045 times N. So in this case, we're just going to use it as N like that times N. You're supposed to multiply. So to multiply 2 times N is 2N. So if you multiply this to N, it's just going to be 0.045N. So we need to solve, because this is an equation and N is inside of the bracket, but you have to solve for N. Find the value of N. How can we do that? Okay, there's a product there. It's either you're going to expand the bracket by 40,000, it's up to you, or you can simply divide by the 40,000 because it's multiplying. So by dividing by 40,000 both sides, it means we are remaining with the 1 here. So that's 1 times 1, which is 1. 1 times 0.45N, which is 0.45N. That is what you're going to have this side. That's the advantage of dividing by this. So meaning to say this side, we are going to remain with the 45,000 over 40,000. So this is what you do. Remember that you are not supposed to round off your values before the final answer. So on your calculator, let's go back to the normal mode because you're not supposed to round anything. So you go back to the shift, setup, number 8, then to the normal mode, which is 2. So write everything as it is. 45,000 divided by 40,000. This is what you're going to have. Check your answer. Is it an ending decimal? Is it ending? If it is 0.0 up to the decimal is not ending, use a fraction when it just like this 9/8. But this one, it is ending, guys. 1.125. It is ending this one. It's an ending decimal. So meaning to say we can just use as it is because you are not supposed to round off as you are working with your finance and growth. You round off on your final answer. All right. So as we saw there, it was gonna be 1.125. Okay, then we can subtract this one, take one to the other side, it becomes a minus this side. So it means we are now having 1 minus 1, comma this, which is going to be 0,125, which is equal to, remember, we have removed this. So we are now left with 0,045n. So to find this, simply divide by 0,045 both sides, divide by 0,045 both sides. So that was going to give us n, the number of years taken. All right, so this is what we have gonna have our calculator. Now we can round off. Now we can do the rounding off. Remember, this is 0, so that's 0,125 divided by 0,045. Or you can just put that fraction, no problem. So this is 2,77 and so on, which is something like 2,78 years. So as you can see, guys, according to the number of years, this we have covered 2 years. We have already covered 2 years. So this is the remaining months. So where are these months? They are in the following year. So we can approximate that there are 3 years to be taken because already we have covered 2 years. So the number of months remaining, they are remaining where? In another year, in the following year. So you can approximate that way, assume that way. So it's going to be approximating to 3 years, or you can just leave it like that, 2,78. They will mark you. So that is how you can calculate your n. You can simply substitute your values from there, solve for the given n that you are having. All right. Another question, you're asked to calculate the value of I. So in this case, we are working with a simple interest. So this one, just assume as if it is not part of our question, this one, okay? Just assume as if it's not there. Calculating the value of I, Joseph invests 18,000 and it grows to 25,000 rand over a period of 2 years. He invests the principal amount, which is 18,000 rand. It grows to, not it grows by. Remember where we had this one? Guys, remember here, when it was increased by, I said you have to add to this one. This one, it grows to. It is now add from this amount, from 2. That is the amount accumulated, that one, 2. So it is accumulated to 25,000 rand. It is different when it is increased by it. When it grows by, you add that, okay? Over a period of what? 2 years, the number of years, which is 2. So we are given the number of years, which is 2 years. Calculate the interest rate, which is, we are talking about either the interest rate to 1 decimal place, and you've got an instruction that you are given to 1 decimal place under a simple interest. If the investment and simple interest, the investment there is for simple interest. Like I said, we're not going to work with this one. We're working with for simple interest. So for simple interest, we do understand that the amount is equal to P into 1 plus IN. This is the formula that we do have. So on this formula, you want to calculate I, in this case, as a percentage. Remember, when you were substituting this I here, you were writing the given percentage, okay? You were writing the percentage given, then you were dividing it by 100. When you were substituting it here, it was a decimal. So meaning to say, as you are to calculate it right now, you are going to get a decimal, but remember that you were dividing. So the opposite now, you must multiply your answer by 100 on the final answer. For now, just substitute everything as it is. All right, the amount is there. It is accumulated to 25,000, where the principal amount is the one that we started with of 18,000 into 1 plus I, in this case, is the one that you want. So it's going to be I times N, which is 2. So that's I times 2, which is simply 2I in that case. So this is 18,000. So remember, like I said, you're supposed to divide to remove this part as a product there. Just divide to remove this, divide both sides. But you must check after dividing, are you obtaining exact values? All right, let's fix this one first. 1 plus I times 2 simply means we've got 2i there. Okay, so remember there's a 1 there, so it's 1 times 1, which is 1, 1 times 2i, which is 2i. But this side, check on your calculator, are you having a decimal which ends or not? Okay, this is what you have. 25,000. This is 25,000. Okay, 25,000 over 18,000 over 18,000. This gives us 25 over 18, or this shows us this decimal does not end. It's going 0, 1, so you are not supposed to round off your answers in between calculations. You round off on the final answer. So how do you avoid now writing this whole decimal as it is? You take it as a fraction. So to avoid that, use a fraction, which is 25 over 18. So we are going to use 25 over 18 to avoid rounding off of values. You use fractions instead. So you're going to opt for what? For fractions instead than working with decimal. Because the moment you use a rounded off value, it is not going to give us exact value. You are not allowed to round off in between, round off on your final answers. So you can take the 1 this side, it becomes a negative there. So it was going to be a -1. So that's 25 over 18 minus a 1 like this, which was going to be 7 over 8. So 7 over 18, this is 18, not 8. This is 7 over 18 is equal to what? Is equal to 2i. Remember, we have taken this 1 to the other side, so we no longer have this 1. So how do you find I in this case? You simply divide by 2. This answer that we are seeing on our calculator, simply divide it by 2. As you are seeing it on your calculator there, divide it by 2 like this. So this is your I in that case. By dividing this by 2, we are obtaining I. So you can even have it as a decimal. This is our I, which was going to be 0.1944444, and so on and so on. But remember what we were doing before when you were writing it. It was given percentage. You divided it by 100. This value, this one that we are seeing here, it's a value which was divided by 100%. So if it was divided before by 100, how do you go back to the percentage? You must multiply by 100, which is the opposite, since it was divided before. So the opposite, multiply. So you're supposed to multiply your answer, this one, by 100%. So it will give you a percentage, which is 19.4. Remember, you're taught 1 decimal place. Or you can now even go back to the shift setup, 6, then you fix this to 1 decimal place. It will give you an answer 19.4 to 1 decimal place. This is now a percentage. It's now the interest which represents the percentage, that R that we are given, that R that we are talking about before, as a percentage. So as you are to work with simple interest, these are the questions that you're supposed to expect in your revisions. As you are to work with the part where questions will be asked on simple interest, they are going to ask any of these to calculate. Are you to calculate? Is it you're calculating the number of years? Is it that you are calculating the principal? And you might be given those questions where you are given that a certain investment doubled from where it was. When an investment doubles, doubles, you're simply going to consider to say you can just let the principal to be equal to X. So if you let the principal to be equal to X, it means the amount is doubled. So it will be 2X. So meaning to say in your calculations, when you're letting that the amount is equal to the principal into 1 plus in that case, you are going to use this as 2x, this as x, but x and x definitely will cancel. So you can calculate whatever that you're given. Is it the interest rate? Is it the number of years, depending with what you're given on that question? But that will be the condition. So let us revise as many questions as we can. Now we can go through our question papers, checking where questions on simple interest are being used. And like I said, we can also apply these in higher purchase. So as you are answering questions with higher purchase, you must apply the simple interest to work out those questions.